As someone who is a big fan of spy stories and spy things in general, it's always a shame that anime doesn't really present it as often as maybe I'd like to see. And as someone who also likes cute anime things, to have Anya, the peak example of anime adorableness, thrown into a spy story with this man Twilight, who is now forced to become a family man to invade this very prestigious school. And in order to do that, he needs to have a kid that can pass the entrance exam. And then, unfortunately for him, also needs a mother or someone to play said mother in order to pass the kind of like the pre-screening trial, I guess is how I'd put it. To me, this is everything that I like about anime, but doing a style of story that I can't see myself comparing to anything in terms of the anime medium. Hell, even the entire idea with how exactly they've gone about presenting Twilight and Anya's relationship is actually pretty damn fresh, even if it is the kind of peak anime adorableness. I mean, seriously, this is like the type of show that you could just focus on Anya herself, this character who was experimented on. We didn't get much, but we can tell it was not a fun experiment. She was crying. It was a sad backstory that allows her to read minds. So for a man who is a spy, that's actually a pretty damn good ability to have, though he doesn't know about it just yet. He just thinks that maybe she's pretty clever in certain ways, like the idea of solving a crossword puzzle when really she was just reading the answers from his own mind. But I love the idea that they actually ended up with this very sweet moment at the end, because she ends up passing not because she reads the minds of the other kids or someone else, but more so because she memorized the answers. Sure, it's technically cheating that she memorized the answers of the test, but it's not like she basically just stole the answers mid-test or anything like that. She worked with who she calls her father, her papa, and ultimately she passed, and for the first time in God knows how many years, this man actually got exhausted because he let his guard down. This is what I am so excited to see, because if you read the synopsis, you have a pretty good idea where the mother dynamic's gonna go, but I'll leave it obviously for episode 2 to reveal in case people haven't read the synopsis. That's the only thing I know about this show, is that it's very popular, it was trending for days before the episode even aired, and I know what the synopsis set out to explain. That's all I know, and honestly, that's for the best, because seriously, watching this episode, I kind of assumed that Anya would be a cute character, and that we'd have this man Twilight who basically can pick up an identity at a moment's notice and do it very well. Like, seriously, he literally invades the kind of person who was attempting to kidnap him in this episode, and he looks like one of the grunt soldiers who he ends up, knocking out himself and then taking his face, basically. He's a master of disguise, and it was really cool to see how the anime medium portrayed that, because I've seen a lot of live action shows do similar things with like face kind of like peeling off and stuff, but it was really cool to see how this team, because it's a duo production between Cloverworks and Wit Studio, and the skin stretching or even just the quick fight animation when he got invaded in his apartment. This show looks incredible. The background detail is fantastic, the character designs are immediately memorable. I don't really look at Anya's character design or Twilight and say, oh, this is just the generic copy and paste. I say, goddamn, this feels like, a show where a spy is naturally blending in with general society. That general society looks interesting to follow, and it just is kind of a recipe for success. But the bread and butter of this episode was, without a doubt, Anya trying to keep this home, because she was basically sent back to different orphanage like 4 different times. So she's someone who knows what abandonment is, and someone who is a spy, clearly loves spy shit. She literally asked for a pistol with a silencer in this episode, and she loves this spy program on TV. So for her to have a father who's a spy is the coolest thing ever, and even though, in very innocent childlike fashion, she looks younger than 6 years old, but she says that she's 6, because ultimately that's what he was looking for in order to get into that school. She seems like 4 or 5, somewhere in that nature, and the fact that she actually acts that age, looks that age, is pretty refreshing for anime, all things considered. But I love the idea that for him, he's not supposed to get attached. He literally breaks up with a woman who he's probably been with for a decent amount of time, was using her because that's what he needed for his mission. Once that no longer was effective for him, as she's bringing up the idea of engagement, he dumps her ass. So, it's basically that spy formula of not getting connected, breaking hearts, being a love breaker, all things considered, and then now that he's actually going to grow feelings for Anya as a daughter, and most likely the same thing with the mother, even though he's going to be someone he's not supposed to kind of feel for. It's going to be interesting to see if he'll be able to complete missions or if that family dynamic is going to ruin him and maybe people will try to kill him because of that. But I love seeing Anya just like continue to be a bit of a brat, but in a pretty innocent way. You have to stay in the apartment. You have to study. No, I don't want to do that. And then she starts trying to sneak up behind him. But her father's a master spy, so of course he's going to notice. And I love that moment at the end where he rescues her, which he didn't have to do, all things considered, but he clearly is hinting at that he used to have a pretty sad backstory himself, and he wants to create a world where children will no longer cry. So he did the thing that he thought would be best for her. Basically, hey, we're going to play this game of tag, go to the police station. If you show them this note, ultimately, she'll get into a better orphanage than the drunken scumbag that she was with before. And I love the fact that she doesn't leave, and the fact that he doesn't push her away, because this is someone who knows abandonment. And even though everything about his kind of spy programming is saying don't do this, he can't shrug her away. And in return is actually getting not only a daughter and a family that he's probably never experienced, he's probably getting the most valuable asset to a spy arsenal, the ability to read minds. It's just a matter of if she'll sooner rather than later tell him about this ability, given Anya's own kind of like demented programming saying never tell anyone about this ability, most likely coming from the person who forced it upon her. It's like a very grounded show, but in anime fashion has that nice spice to keep it relevant. You know, it has the Esper abilities, the ability to read minds. It has the kind of goofy facial reactions with the cute anime adorableness, but it just feels like there's nothing about this show that I would change so far. Like, honestly, I could see myself saying this is the best new anime of the season already, and there's still a few shows that I want to watch from this season, but I mean, of course, I like the stuff that is coming back with seasons 2s and 3s and things like that, but just to see this show, I can understand why people are pretty damn excited about this one. And when the credits started playing there, I absolutely loved the song that was backing everything. I think this is going to be a show that is going to be massively popular. You don't have shows trend that aren't like your typical shonens and stuff a day before it even airs, and trend as hard as it did unless it's something that has a lot of popularity. And just seeing the quality behind every inch of this show, I would be shocked if people aren't going to make this show more popular now that the episode has officially dropped, and now there's going to be new anime fans making this show trend. And in doing so, hopefully we'll get to see many seasons of this show and maybe even a full adaptation. Maybe that's already a little too soon to hope for. Hey, we're getting 2 cores. Maybe we should, just be thankful with that. But I mean, when you see a quality first episode that gets you excited for the future of the show, it's hard not to want the absolute best for it in the long run. You can already tell this has a lot of polish behind it. It has a good pre-production from what I can see. And the fact that we're going to get another 12 episodes this fall, I think is a great sign that we're going to have a consistent 24 episode run rather than a sloppy one that can happen if you have a back-to-back 2-core, especially with so many studios taking up so many anime. We need as much time in the oven as we can give it, and clearly time in the oven is what this show is getting. Thoughts if you have any on Spy Family, and where do you hope to see it go now that seemingly episode 2 is going to kick off with introducing a mother figure, because obviously you can't go to that kind of interview without a mother unless you want to say she's sick, which maybe a spy could get around that, but eventually they're going to have to meet her, so that's going to be fun. But let me know what you're thinking down below, whether if you love the source material or you're brand new to it like myself. Leave a like if you enjoy it and subscribe if you're new around here. Until next time, everyone, please take care and have a good one.